The stars reflected off the golden scales of Supreme Marshal Krelthar as he stood on the bridge of his flagship. His reptilian eyes studied the holographic display before him with satisfaction. 47 star systems glowed in soft blue light. Human territory, primitive territory, soon to be Valorian territory. Status report, Krelthar commanded, his forked tongue tasting the air with anticipation. All 300 vessels are in position. Supreme Marshal, his tactical officer replied, bowing low. The humans have not responded to our presence. Their silence confirms the intelligence reports. They are weak, Krelthar nodded slowly. The Valorian hegemony had ruled 3,000 star systems for 6 centuries. They had crushed 17 species who dared resist their expansion. These humans would be no different. The scans showed their technology was adequate but unremarkable. Their fleet was small. Their weapons were conventional. They would fall within weeks, perhaps days. Begin the demonstration, Krelthar ordered. Destroy the mining station in the outer system. Let them see what happens to those who occupy resources that belong to the hegemony. The weapons officer activated the targeting systems. 3 heavy cruisers broke formation and accelerated toward a distant asteroid where human miners extracted valuable metals. The station was small, barely worth the ammunition, but symbols mattered in conquest. Fear was a weapon sharper than any blade. The cruisers fired in unison. Plasma bolts crossed the void and struck the mining station. Metal vaporized instantly. The explosion bloomed bright against the darkness of space, a flower of destruction that would be seen from the nearby human colony world. Station destroyed. Supreme Marshal, the weapons officer reported. No survivors detected. Excellent, Krelthar gestured to his communications officer. Broadcast the surrender demand. All frequencies, all known languages. The message went out across human space. It spoke of the might of the Valorian hegemony. It demanded immediate and unconditional surrender. It promised mercy to those who complied and annihilation to those who resisted. The message was translated into 47 different galactic languages, from the clicking speech of the Mantid Concordat to the harmonic tones of the singing worlds, but not English. The Valorians had not bothered to learn the human tongue. Why learn the language of prey? Hours passed. The Valorian fleet waited for the humans to respond. Krelthar expected panicked transmissions, pleas for negotiation, perhaps desperate attempts at resistance. Instead, there was only silence. The human colony worlds are going dark, the sensor officer reported, confusion evident in his voice. They are shutting down their communication arrays. Power signatures are dropping. They hide like cowards, Krelthar said with contempt. They shut their eyes and hope the predator passes them by. Foolish. He turned to his helmsman. Take us deeper into their territory. We advance to the 4th system. When they see our fleet above their homeworlds, they will have no choice but to surrender. The Valorian armada moved forward like a golden tide. Ship after ship passed through the outer systems of human space. They encountered no resistance. No human vessels rose to challenge them. The colonies appeared to be evacuating, their populations fleeing before the approaching conquerors. On the 3rd day, they reached the 4th system. It contained 2 habitable worlds and a major shipyard facility orbiting a gas giant. This was a strategic target, a place where the humans built their vessels and maintained their fleet. Taking it would cripple any hope of human resistance. But when the Valorian fleet arrived, they found the shipyards empty. The massive construction docks hung silent in space, their work bays vacant. The planets below showed minimal life signs. It appeared the humans had abandoned their worlds rather than fight for them. Supreme Marshal, the tactical officer said hesitantly, something is wrong. Our scouts report the same situation in 6 other systems. The humans are gone. Their military vessels, their cargo ships, even their small civilian craft, all gone. They run, Krelthar said, though doubt crept into his voice like poison. They scatter before us, hoping to survive in the dark between the stars. But the sensor officer shook his head, his scales rippling with anxiety. Supreme Marshal, I must report an anomaly. According to our intelligence, the humans operated at least 200 military vessels in this region. We have not detected a single one. Not fleeing, not hiding in nearby systems, not destroyed. They have simply vanished. Krelthar felt a cold sensation in his chest, something he had not experienced in many years. Uncertainty. He looked at the tactical display again. seeing the human system spread before him like pieces on a game board. His fleet was dispersed across 12 systems now, squadrons positioned to claim the most valuable worlds. It was a perfect invasion formation. Or a perfect trap. Recall the outer squadrons, Krelthar ordered suddenly. Tighten our formation. Something is not right here. But even as he spoke, alarms began to sound throughout the bridge. The sensor displays exploded with new contacts. Dozens of them, hundreds of them. Ships materializing from nowhere, appearing in the spaces between the Valorian vessels as if they had been invisible until that very moment. Contact. Multiple contacts, the sensor officer screamed. They were here the entire time. They were hiding right beside us. The bridge erupted into chaos. Officers shouted reports and warnings. Tactical displays showed human ships decloaking throughout the system, their weapons already charging. They had not fled. They had never fled. They had been waiting, watching, studying the invaders with cold patience. Krelthar stared at the display in disbelief. The humans had let them enter their territory, had let them spread out, had let them believe victory was assured, and now the trap was sprung. A human destroyer, small compared to his flagship but moving with predatory grace, slid into position just 3 kilometers away. So close that weapons were almost unnecessary. So close it was an insult, a statement of superiority. Incoming transmission, the communications officer said, his voice trembling. It is in our language, Supreme Marshal. Perfect Valorian. Play it, Krelthar ordered, his pride wounded but his curiosity burning. A human face appeared on the screen, female with dark skin and eyes that held no fear, only cold calculation. She wore a military uniform marked with symbols of rank. Behind her, the bridge of her ship was dim and efficient, designed for war rather than ceremony. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Human Space Forces, the human said, speaking Valorian with flawless pronunciation. You entered our territory without permission. You destroyed our property. You killed our people. You demanded our surrender. She paused, and something that might have been a smile touched her lips. We do not surrender. We do not forgive. And we do not forget. The transmission ended. For a moment, there was silence on Krelthar's bridge. Then the human ships opened fire. Plasma bolts and kinetic rounds crossed the void. Valorian shields flared and failed under the concentrated assault. The humans were not firing randomly. They were targeting command ships, communication relays, ammunition stores. Every shot was calculated. Every attack was precise. Krelthar gripped his command throne as his flagship shuddered under fire. Around him, his officers frantically tried to organize a defense, but the humans were everywhere, striking from unexpected angles, vanishing and reappearing like ghosts. Return fire, Krelthar roared. All ships engage. But even as his fleet began to respond, Krelthar realized the terrible truth. The humans had been watching them for days, maybe weeks. They had studied Valorian tactics, learned their formation patterns, identified their weaknesses. The invaders had walked into human space like arrogant fools, and now they would pay the price for their pride. The battle for human territory had begun. But it would not be the easy conquest Krelthar had imagined. Admiral Sarah Chen sat in her command chair aboard the carrier Indomitable, watching the battle unfold across multiple screens. Her ship hung hidden in the Carina Nebula, its stealth systems making it invisible to Valorian sensors. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, their movements precise and practiced. Tactical. Status of the engagement, Chen said calmly. Fourth Fleet has neutralized the Valorian command cruiser in Sector 7, Lieutenant Park reported from his station. Sixth Fleet is pursuing scattered elements in Sector 9. Enemy casualties are at 37%. Our losses are minimal, Chen nodded. The battle was proceeding exactly as planned. But this was only the beginning. The Valorians would regroup, adapt, and strike back. They always did. That was why humanity had prepared so carefully for this moment. She thought back to the briefing she had attended 6 months ago at Earth Command. The Intelligence Division had detected Valorian scout ships probing human borders. It was clear an invasion was coming. The admirals had debated their response. Some wanted to strike first. Others argued for diplomatic solutions. Chen had advocated for a third option. Let them come. Let them enter human space. Let them think they had won. Then show them what humanity truly was. The plan had been approved, but with conditions. Strict conditions. Because humanity knew its own nature all too well. Admiral, her executive officer, Commander Williams, said quietly, moving to stand beside her chair. Earth Command is transmitting authorization codes. They are unlocking the Rubicon protocols. Chen felt her stomach tighten. The Rubicon protocols. She had hoped they would never be necessary, but she had always known hope was not strategy. All stages? She asked. All 7 stages, Admiral. Full authorization. Chen closed her eyes for a moment. The Rubicon protocols were humanity's darkest secret, created after the resource wars of 2170. Those wars had nearly destroyed Earth. Nation fought nation over water, rare minerals, and arable land. Nuclear weapons had been used. Biological weapons had been deployed. At the war's peak, 4 billion people had died in 18 months. Humanity had stared into the abyss of its own extinction and realized a terrible truth. Humans were very, very good at killing, better than any species should be, better than was safe. The survivors had created new governments, new alliances, and new rules, but they had also created the Rubicon Protocols, a series of strategic doctrines that removed restrictions on human warfare one stage at a time. Stage 1 allowed conventional military responses. Stage 7 allowed things that humanity had sworn never to use again. Acknowledge Earth Command, Chen said, opening her eyes. Inform all fleet commanders that we are authorized to Protocol Stage 3. No further. Stage 3 was enough. Stage 3 allowed them to fight without restraint, but within the boundaries of what humans still considered civilized warfare. Anything beyond that was a path to darkness. Aye, Admiral, Williams said, relief evident in his voice. The tactical display showed the Valorian fleet attempting to regroup. They were pulling back from the forward systems, consolidating their forces into defensive positions. It was a smart move, but it was also predictable. Chen had studied 17 different alien species' military doctrines over her 20-year career. Most species fought the same way because most species evolved the same way. They were prey that became hunters, or herbivores that learned to fight, or hive minds that valued collective survival above all else. Their warfare reflected their nature. It was defensive, cautious, focused on minimizing losses. Humans were different. Humans evolved as hunters who hunted other hunters. Humans were predators who killed predators. That changed everything. Contact the fleet, Chen ordered. Execute Pattern Omega. I want every ship in position within 6 hours. Pattern Omega was a tactic no other species would consider because it violated every instinct they possessed. It required ships to split up, to move independently into positions where they could be destroyed if the enemy reacted correctly. It was aggressive to the point of recklessness. But humans understood something other species did not. Sometimes the best defense was not to defend at all. Sometimes survival meant charging forward when every logical impulse screamed to retreat. Across 12 systems, human ships began to move. They did not consolidate. They did not form defensive perimeters. Instead, they spread out further, placing themselves between Valorian ships and their supply lines, between enemy squadrons and their command structure. They isolated, surrounded, and pressured. On Krelthar's flagship, the Valorian commander stared at his tactical display in confusion and growing horror. The human fleet was splitting apart, making themselves vulnerable. It should have been an opportunity to destroy them in detail, but somehow it felt like a noose tightening around his throat. They are cutting us off from our supply convoys, his tactical officer reported, and from each other. Each of our squadrons is being isolated. Krelthar's claws scraped against his command throne. This is madness. They are exposing themselves to counterattack. Order all squadrons to advance and engage. We will destroy them while they are separated. But when his forces advanced, the human ships melted away, striking from new angles, hitting supply depots and communication relays instead of engaging in direct battle. The Valorians found themselves chasing shadows while their infrastructure crumbled. Chen watched the enemy's response with satisfaction. They were reacting exactly as predicted. The Valorian military doctrine was 3 centuries old, refined through dozens of conquests against species who fought conventionally. But humans had learned long ago that following rules was for people who thought they could afford to lose. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Valorian flagship, the communications officer announced. They are requesting negotiation. Denied, Chen said without hesitation. They wanted war. Now they have it. Admiral, Williams said quietly, concern in his voice. They are offering to withdraw, To leave human space entirely, Chen turned to look at her executive officer. Williams was a good man, a moral man. He did not like unnecessary suffering. Neither did she. But this was not about what they liked. If we let them withdraw now, they will return in 5 years with twice the ships and better intelligence, Chen said. They will bring allies. They will be prepared for our tactics. And next time they might succeed in killing billions of humans before we stop them. She paused, letting her words sink in. We end this threat now, Commander. Completely. Williams nodded slowly, understanding but not happy. That was good. The day her officers became happy about war was the day humanity would have truly lost itself. A new contact appeared on the sensors. A massive vessel, larger than anything the Valorians had deployed so far. Its energy signature was off the scale. Valorian dreadnought entering the system, Lieutenant Park reported. Mass equivalent to 15 of our heavy cruisers. Weapon systems charging. Chen leaned forward, studying the new threat. The Valorians were escalating. Good. Let them commit everything. Let them show humanity their full strength. It would make the lesson more complete. All ships converge on the dreadnought, Chen ordered. Execute Protocol 7 Alpha. 7 Alpha was a swarm tactic. Dozens of smaller ships attacking from all directions. Overwhelming defenses through sheer numbers and coordination. It was based on how ancient humans hunted mammoths, how wolf packs brought down prey 10 times their size. The human fleet descended on the Valorian dreadnought like wolves on a wounded elk. Missiles and kinetic rounds hammered its shields from every angle. The dreadnought fired back, its massive weapons destroying 2 human destroyers in quick succession. But for every ship it killed, 3 more took its place. Chen watched dispassionately as the dreadnought's shields failed, as its armor cracked, as its reactor went critical. The explosion lit up the system like a newborn star. Dreadnought destroyed, Park reported. Enemy fleet is in full retreat. Pursue, Chen ordered. I want damage assessments on every Valorian vessel. I want to know their fuel status, their ammunition reserves, their crew morale. I want to know everything. Because that was what humans did. They learned. They adapted. They found weaknesses and exploited them without mercy. It was how they survived on a world that tried to kill them for millions of years. It was how they conquered their own planet. And now it was how they would defend their place in the stars. The Valorian fleet fled deeper into human territory, trying to escape. But there was no escape. The humans were already there, waiting. The Galactic Council chamber was a marvel of architecture and diplomacy. Built on a neutral station orbiting a dead star, it housed representatives from 89 different species. The chamber itself was designed to accommodate beings of all types, from the methane-breathing Kelshari to the crystalline harmonics who communicated through light patterns. Today, the chamber was filled with unusual tension. Emergency sessions were rare. This was only the third in 200 years. Ambassador Marcus Webb sat in the human delegation area, a small alcove designed for species who breathed oxygen and stood upright. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been humanity's voice to the galaxy for 12 years, working carefully to build relationships and trust. Now all that work might crumble because of what was happening in human space. The session chairman, a floating jellyfish-like being named Quelix, signaled for attention. The chamber's translation systems activated, converting Quelix's bioluminescent patterns into sounds and symbols each species could understand. This council is now in session, Quelix announced. We gather to address the conflict between the Valorian hegemony and the human collective. Representative Korthal of the Valorian delegation has requested emergency intervention. A tall reptilian figure stood in the Valorian section. Korthal looked nothing like the proud warriors humanity was currently fighting. He looked frightened. Honored council members, Korthal said, his voice trembling slightly. The Valorian hegemony requests immediate peacekeeping intervention in our conflict with the humans. Our military forces are suffering catastrophic losses. The humans are employing weapons and tactics that violate established conventions of warfare. They are demonstrating capabilities far beyond their known technology level. We fear they pose a threat not just to the hegemony, but to all galactic civilization. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Webb felt the eyes of dozens of species turn toward him. He remained still, his face carefully neutral. Ambassador Webb, Quelix said. The council requests clarification. The humans were believed to be a minor power with limited military capability, yet reports from the conflict zone suggest otherwise. Can you explain this discrepancy? Webb stood slowly. He had prepared for this moment, but that did not make it easier. I can explain, Chairman, Webb said. But first I must show the Council something. With your permission? Quellix's colors shifted to indicate approval. Webb activated a holographic projector. Images appeared in the center of the chamber. They showed a planet blue and green and beautiful. Earth. This is humanity's homeworld, Webb began. To most species here it appears pleasant. But let me show you what our scientists classify as a Class 12 death world. The image changed, showing Earth's surface. Massive storms that could destroy cities. Earthquakes that split continents. Volcanoes that darken skies for years. Temperature ranges from 50 degrees below freezing to 50 degrees above boiling. Predators of every type, from microscopic viruses to massive carnivores. Humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill them constantly, Webb continued. Our ancestors survived by becoming better killers than anything else on our world. We hunted creatures 10 times our size. We endured diseases that had 90% fatality rates. We adapted to every environment on our planet, from frozen poles to burning deserts. More images appeared. Human history in all its bloody glory. Tribal warfare. Ancient empires. World wars fought with increasingly terrible weapons. We fought each other as well, Webb said quietly. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans killed other humans. We refined warfare into an art form. We created weapons capable of destroying our entire civilization, and we nearly used them. He showed them images from the resource wars. Cities turned to glass, populations fleeing across poisoned lands, mass graves that stretched for kilometers. In 2170, humanity almost became extinct because of our own violence, Webb said. 4 billion people died. Our homeworld was devastated. But we survived, and we learned something important about ourselves. He paused, looking around the chamber at the various species. Most of them looked disturbed. Some looked horrified. Good. They needed to understand. We learned that humans are very, very good at war. Webb continued. Better than any species should be. So when we came to the stars, we made a decision. We would limit ourselves. We would hide our true nature. We would live quietly and peacefully, hoping never to need the skills that evolution gave us. An insectoid representative, Zixtara of the Mantid Concordat, clicked her mandibles sharply. You lied to this council about your capabilities? We omitted information, Webb corrected. There is a difference. We told you about our technology, our population, our territory. We simply did not tell you about our military doctrine or our full weapons inventory, because we hoped never to use them. But the Valorians invaded, Quellix observed. Yes, Webb said. They destroyed our station without warning. They killed our people. They demanded our surrender. So we showed them what humanity becomes when survival is threatened. He displayed footage from the conflict. Valorian ships being outmaneuvered, surrounded, and destroyed with surgical precision. Human vessels using tactics that seemed reckless but were devastatingly effective. Weapons that the Valorians could not counter. This is Protocol Stage 3, Webb explained. We have 7 stages. Each stage removes another restriction on human warfare. Stage 1 is normal military operations. Stage 7 is total war, where humans use every weapon and tactic we possess, including those we swore never to use again after the resource wars. What happens at Stage 7? Asked Aristhin, a representative from the Singing Worlds. Her species were prey animals who had achieved sentience through harmony and cooperation. The concept of staged warfare was alien to her. Webb met her eyes. At Stage 7, we win, no matter the cost. To them or to us, the chamber fell silent. Webb could see the council members processing this information, recalculating their understanding of humanity. You are Deathworlders, Aristhin said finally. Her voice filled with something like wonder and terror. We have studied your planet's classification. We thought it meant you were tough survivors. We did not understand what it truly meant. Most species here evolved from prey, Webb said gently, or from herbivores, or from hive minds where individual survival is less important than collective survival. You achieved space travel through cooperation, through building and sharing and growing together. That is beautiful. It is admirable. He paused, letting them hear the sincerity in his words before continuing. Humans evolved from hunters, from predators. We achieved space travel by competing, by fighting, by constantly trying to be better than the threat trying to kill us. We are pack hunters who learn to use tools and then learn to think. That is our nature. We cannot change it. We can only control it. And if you lose control, Korthal asked, fear evident in his voice. Then we become monsters, Webb admitted. That is why we created the Rubicon protocols. Not just to unleash our capacity for violence, but to control it, to ensure we can activate it when needed and deactivate it when the threat has passed, to make sure we can come back from the edge. A large, bear-like representative named Groth stood up. His species, the Urson Collective, were one of the few other aggressive species in the Council. The question before us is simple, Groth said. Should we intervene to stop the humans from destroying the Valorians? Or do we let this play out? The Valorians invaded human space without cause, another representative pointed out. They destroyed human property and killed human citizens. By galactic law, the humans have the right to defend themselves. But the scale of their response is disproportionate, Korthal protested. We sought to claim uninhabited systems. They are destroying our entire fleet. Webb turned to face the Valorian representative. You destroyed our mining station. You killed 173 people. You then demanded that our entire civilization surrender to you. What did you think would happen? We thought you would surrender, Korthal said desperately. Every other species we encountered either surrendered or negotiated. We did not know you were Deathworlders. We did not know you were apex predators. If we had known, we never would have entered your territory. And that, Webb said quietly, is exactly why we kept it secret. We did not want to be feared. We wanted to be left alone, but you did not leave us alone. You invaded. You killed our people, and now you face the consequences. Quellix's colors shifted to indicate deep thought. Ambassador Webb, what are humanity's intentions? Will you stop at defending your territory, or will you pursue the Valorians into their home systems? That depends entirely on the Valorians, Webb said. If they withdraw and agree to peace terms, we will cease hostilities immediately. If they continue to fight, we will continue to defend ourselves. If they escalate further, we will escalate in response. We do not want to destroy the Valorian civilization, but we will do what is necessary to ensure humanity's survival. The hegemony wishes to withdraw, Korthal said quickly. We will leave human territory. We will pay reparations. We will accept any reasonable terms. Please, you must convince your military to allow us to retreat. Webb looked at the Valorian representative for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I will convey your offer to Earth Command. But understand this, all of you. 3 months had passed since the war began. Supreme Marshal Krelthar stood in what remained of his command center, looking at tactical displays that showed only defeat. Of the 300 ships he had led into human space, fewer than 90 remained operational. His proud hegemony had lost 60% of its fleet, and the humans showed no signs of stopping. Supreme Marshal, his communications officer said, his voice hollow with exhaustion. The Gen Collective has confirmed their alliance. Their fleet will arrive within 1 week. 400 vessels, including their best dreadnoughts. Krelthar felt a moment of hope. The Gen were old allies, powerful and experienced. With their help, perhaps the tide could turn. Perhaps humanity could be pushed back, defeated, destroyed. But even as he thought this, a part of him whispered that it was already too late. That bringing more forces into this conflict would only lead to more death. That humanity was not an enemy that could be defeated through conventional warfare. He pushed the thought away. The hegemony could not surrender. His pride, his honor, his civilization demanded that he fight to the end. On Earth, in a deep bunker beneath the remains of old Geneva, the Security Council watched the intelligence reports. The Gen Collective was entering the war. The conflict was escalating beyond what anyone had anticipated. They are committing 400 ships, Director Chen said, studying the tactical projections. Combined with the remaining Valorian forces, they will outnumber our deployed fleet. Then we deploy more ships, General Morrison said. We have the reserves. We can match their numbers. It is not about numbers anymore, Ambassador Webb said via holographic link from the Galactic Council station. The Gen are testing us. If we defeat them too, other species will become truly frightened of us. We could become isolated, surrounded by fearful civilizations who see us as monsters. What do you suggest? Director Chen asked. That we lose on purpose? Let them kill our people to make the galaxy feel better? No, Webb said. But we need to be careful about how we win. We cannot afford to become the villains in this story. The debate continued for hours. Finally, a decision was made. Admiral Sarah Chen received new orders from Earth Command. She read them twice, making sure she understood correctly. Then she called her senior officers to a meeting. The Gen Collective is entering the war, she told them. Earth Command is authorizing Protocol Stage 4. We are to engage and defeat the combined fleet, but we are to avoid targeting civilian infrastructure or using weapons of mass destruction. Commander Williams nodded. Stage 4 gives us access to the full weapons inventory, kinetic kill vehicles, adaptive munitions, AI-guided hunters, but still within the boundaries of conventional warfare. Correct, Chen said. We show them we can win without becoming monsters. But even as she spoke, another report came in. Intelligence had detected something disturbing. The Valorians were moving a weapon system into position near human space. A planet killer, ancient technology from their early expansion period. It was targeting Earth itself. Chen felt her blood turn cold. Confirm that intelligence, she ordered. Lieutenant Park worked his console frantically. Confirmed, Admiral. The weapon is called the Starbreaker. It generates a focused gravity wave that can shatter a planet's crust. They are positioning it 3 light years from Sol system. At current speed, it will be in firing position within 72 hours. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Valorians were not just fighting for territory anymore. They were fighting for extinction. One side or the other. Get me Earth Command, Chen said quietly. Priority 1. The response came back within an hour. Earth Command had authorized Protocol Stage 7. Total War Doctrine. All restrictions removed. All weapons available. The only goal was humanity's survival. Chen sat alone in her quarters for a long time after receiving the authorization. She thought about her daughter back on Earth, about the billions of people who trusted her to protect them. She thought about the resource wars and the terrible weapons humanity had used against itself. She thought about what kind of person could give the orders she was about to give. Then she stood up, straightened her uniform, and returned to the bridge. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We are now operating under Protocol Stage 7. Target designations are being transmitted now. Destroy everything. The human fleet transformed. Ships that had been holding back now unleashed their full arsenal. Weapons that humanity had sworn never to use again were activated. AI systems that could hunt targets independently were released. Biological weapons that could devastate enemy crews without destroying ships were deployed. The war became slaughter. Valorian ships died by the dozens. When they tried to retreat, hunter-killer drones pursued them, tracking them through hyperspace, finding them in their hiding places, destroying them without mercy. Supply convoys were annihilated. Command centers were targeted. Even civilian transports carrying supplies to the military were considered valid targets. The Gen Collective arrived to find a nightmare. They had expected a conventional war, a battle between fleets where courage and tactics mattered. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once, that struck without warning, that killed with cold efficiency. The Gen commanders tried every tactic in their doctrine. They split their forces to present multiple targets. The humans concentrated fire and destroyed them in detail. They concentrated their forces for mutual protection. The humans simply surrounded them and waited, cutting off supplies until the enemy had no choice but to try breaking out, and then destroyed them as they fled. One Gen captain, desperate and dying as her ship was torn apart, sent a final transmission that was intercepted by both sides. "We are fighting ghosts," she said. "They are not warriors. They are death itself. May the ancestors forgive us for waking them." Krelthar watched his alliance crumble. The Gen were pulling back, trying to save what remained of their fleet. His own ships were scattered, leaderless, dying alone in the dark. The humans were advancing on Valorian space itself, their ships appearing in the outer systems of the hegemony. And then came the worst news of all. Human ships had blockaded the Valorian homeworld. They had deployed weapons around the system's star, devices that could trigger a premature supernova if activated. The entire Valorian civilization, billions of people, were being held hostage. In orbit above the homeworld, aboard the carrier Indomitable, Admiral Chen looked at the planet below. It was beautiful, with golden deserts and deep blue oceans. Billions of Valorians lived there, most of them civilians who had nothing to do with the invasion of human space. "Admiral," Williams said quietly, "we have confirmation. The devices are in place. If the Valorians do not surrender, we can destroy their star and sterilize every planet in this system. Chen nodded slowly. And if we do that, we will have killed billions. We will have committed genocide. We will have become exactly the monsters we were afraid of becoming. But we will have survived, William said. Isn't that what matters? Chen looked at him. Is it? If we have to become monsters to survive, what exactly are we surviving for? Before Williams could answer, Lieutenant Park called out. Admiral, incoming transmission from the surface. It's Supreme Marshal Krelthar. He is requesting to speak with you directly. Chen took a deep breath. Put him through. The Valorian commander appeared on the screen. He looked nothing like the proud warrior who had led the invasion 3 months ago. His scales were dull, his eyes haunted. Behind him, the command bunker was damaged, sparking with electrical fires. Admiral Chen, Krelthar said, his voice broken. I'm here to offer the unconditional surrender of the Valorian hegemony. We will withdraw from all human territory. We will pay reparations. We will accept any terms you demand. I beg you, please do not destroy our world. My people do not deserve to die for my mistakes. Chen looked at the Valorian leader for a long moment. She thought about the mining station he had destroyed, the 173 people he had killed, the war he had started. She also thought about the billions of Valorians on the planet below, sleeping in their homes, unaware that humanity held their lives in its hands. Stand by, Chen said. She muted the transmission and looked at Williams. What do you think? I think we won, Williams said. I think we showed them what humans can do when pushed. I think we made sure no one will ever invade our space again. And I think if we destroy that planet, we will never be able to look at ourselves in the mirror again. Chen nodded slowly. She opened a channel to Earth Command. This is Admiral Chen. The Valorians are offering unconditional surrender. I am recommending we accept their terms and cease all offensive operations. Request confirmation. The wait felt like an eternity. Finally, the response came. Earth Command confirms. Accept surrender. Cease offensive operations. Return to Protocol Stage 1. Well done, Admiral. Chen felt something unclench in her chest. She unmuted the transmission to Krelthar. Your surrender is accepted. Order all your forces to stand down immediately. We will transmit the full terms within the hour, and Supreme Marshal understand this. You entered our territory and started this war. We finished it. Let that be a lesson to anyone else who thinks, The war ended as suddenly as it had begun. Within hours of Krelthar's surrender, Valorian ships across 12 systems powered down their weapons and submitted to human authority. The Gen Collective, seeing their allies defeated, quickly negotiated their own withdrawal from the conflict. They paid a heavy price for their involvement, ceding several border systems to humanity as reparations. In the weeks that followed, the Galactic Council mediated the peace terms. The Valorian hegemony was forced to cede 5 resource-rich systems to human control. They agreed to pay reparations equivalent to rebuilding everything they had destroyed, plus compensation for the families of those killed. Most importantly, they accepted the permanent presence of human observers throughout their territory to ensure compliance. For a proud civilization that had conquered 17 species, the terms were humiliating. But the alternative was extinction, and even Krelthar understood that much. Ambassador Webb stood before the Galactic Council once more, this time to formally sign the peace accords. The chamber was packed with representatives from dozens of species, all watching to see what humanity would do next. The war is over, Webb said simply. Humanity accepts the Valorian surrender. We will enforce the peace terms as written, but we have no interest in further conquest or expansion. We wanted to be left alone. That has not changed. But everything else has changed, Quelix observed, the chairman's colors shifting to indicate concern. The galaxy now knows what humans truly are. Deathworlders. Apex predators. Species capable of extreme violence. How can we trust you? Webb smiled sadly. You cannot trust us any more than we can trust you. Trust is earned through actions, not words. But I can tell you this. Humanity knows what it is. We know what we are capable of. That knowledge terrifies us more than it terrifies you. We built the Rubicon protocols not just as weapons but as controls, as safeguards to ensure we never lose ourselves completely. He paused, looking around the chamber. We came back from Stage 7. We could have destroyed the Valorian homeworld. We could have killed billions in revenge for 173 deaths. We had the power and the authorization, but we chose mercy instead. Because the moment we stop being able to make that choice is the moment we stop being human. Ariston of the Singing Worlds rose to speak. Her prey species nature made her naturally fearful of predators, but she had been thinking deeply about what she had learned. Ambassador Webb, may I ask a question? She said. Of course, you said humans are pack hunters, that you evolved to work together to bring down prey. Is that why you are so effective in war? Because you cooperate better than other species? Webb considered the question carefully. Partly, but it is more than that. Humans learned to cooperate because we had to. A single human cannot bring down a mammoth, but 10 humans working together can. We learned to communicate complex plans, to trust each other with our lives, to sacrifice individually for the good of the group. That sounds like hive mind behavior, Ariston observed. But we are not a hive mind, Webb said. Each human is an individual with their own thoughts, their own desires, their own will. We choose to cooperate, and that choice, that voluntary cooperation between individuals who could just as easily compete, that is what makes humans so effective. We can work as one when we need to, but we can also think as many. We can adapt faster than a hive mind because we have millions of minds thinking independently, but working toward a common goal. The chamber fell silent as the representatives absorbed this. It was a terrifying concept to many of them, a species that combined the adaptability of individuals with the coordination of a collective. Groth of the Ursan collective, one of the few other aggressive species, stood up. I have a different question, Ambassador. What happens now? Now that the galaxy knows what humans can do, some species will fear you. Some will hate you. Some will seek to destroy you before you become too powerful. Are you prepared for that? We are prepared, Webb said quietly. We did not want to be feared. But if fear is what keeps others from invading our territory and killing our people, we will accept it. We would prefer friendship, but we will settle for respect maintained through strength. The peace accords were signed. The war was officially over. But everyone in the chamber understood that the galaxy had changed forever. On the Valorian homeworld, Krelthar stood before his people's high council. He was no longer Supreme Marshal. That title had been stripped from him hours after the surrender. Now he was simply Krelthar, awaiting judgment for his catastrophic failure. You led 300 ships into human space, the council leader said, her voice cold with fury. You returned with fewer than 80. You cost the hegemony 5-star systems, trillions in reparations, and our reputation as a galactic power. What do you have to say for yourself? Krelthar bowed his head. I have no defense. I underestimated the enemy. I believed our intelligence. I thought humans were weak. I was wrong. I deserve whatever punishment this council sees fit to impose. You deserve death, another council member spat. You destroyed our empire through your pride and stupidity. Perhaps, Krelthar said. But if you kill me, you learn nothing. Let me live. Let me tell every young warrior, every ambitious commander, every fool who thinks conquest is easy what I learned in human space. Let me be a warning to future generations. The council deliberated for hours. In the end, they chose humiliation over execution. Krelthar would live, but he would spend the rest of his life traveling the hegemony, speaking to military academies and strategic institutes. He would tell the story of how he invaded human territory and lost everything. He would be a living reminder of the cost of arrogance. It was a fate worse than death for a proud Valorian warrior. But Krelthar accepted it. It was what he deserved. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the military cemetery on Luna looking at the rows of white markers. Each one represented a human who had died in the war. 3,207 people. Not a large number compared to the Valorian losses, but each one was a life ended, a family destroyed, a future stolen. Commander Williams stood beside her, silent and respectful. I keep thinking about what we almost did, Chen said quietly. We had those devices around the Valorian star. We had the authorization. I could have given the order and killed billions. But you did not, Williams said. That is what matters, is it? Chen turned to look at him. We came so close to becoming monsters. So close to crossing a line we could never come back from. Does it matter that we stopped at the last second? Or does it matter that we went that far at all? Williams was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I think it matters that we are asking these questions. Monsters do not question themselves. Monsters do not feel guilt or doubt. We do. That is what makes us human even after everything we did. Chen nodded slowly. I am retiring after this. Earth Command approved my request. I cannot do this anymore. I cannot hold that much power over life and death. I cannot be the person who gives those orders. Who will replace you? Someone younger. Someone who did not fight in the resource wars. Someone who can look at violence without seeing ghosts. She paused. Someone better than me. There is no one better than you, Admiral. Chen smiled sadly. That is the problem, Commander. That is exactly the problem. She saluted the graves one final time, then turned and walked away. Behind her, the names of the dead were carved in stone, a reminder of the cost of peace. 50 years passed. The war faded into history, though it was never forgotten. Humanity continued to expand slowly, carefully, always aware that the galaxy watched them with a mixture of fear and respect. No other species invaded human territory. The lesson had been learned. In a park on New Terra, one of humanity's colony worlds, an old man sat on a bench feeding synthesized seeds to the local bird analogs. He was in his 70s now, with white hair and hands that trembled slightly. His name was James Park, and he had been a lieutenant aboard a destroyer during the war. A young Valorian approached him cautiously. She was a student, studying galactic history at the local university. Her scales were bright with youth, and her eyes were curious rather than fearful. "Excuse me," she said in accented but clear English. "Are you Lieutenant Park? The one who served in the war?" Park looked up at her and smiled. "I was a lieutenant then. Just Park now. And yes, I served. What can I do for you, young one?" "I am writing a paper about the war," she said. "About how it changed both our species. I wanted to ask someone who was there. If you do not mind, sit," Park said, gesturing to the bench. "I do not mind talking about it, though I am not sure I have any answers you have not already found in history books." The young Valorian sat carefully, maintaining a respectful distance. "The books tell us what happened. They do not tell us why you stopped. You had won. You had our homeworld surrounded. You could have destroyed us completely. Why did you show mercy?" Park was quiet for a long time, watching the birds. Finally he said, "Because we remembered who we were. Humans can be terrible when we need to be. We can be violent, ruthless, efficient killers, but we can also choose to be something else. We can choose compassion even when it would be easier to choose vengeance. But how?" the student asked. "After everything my people did to yours, how did you find the strength to forgive?"